outfit time. Let's break January notes down. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about. January was quite a compact month for me. A lot happened that I want to share with you. So we're going to have a week-to-week diary. Also stress management. That's a really big theme. That's my focus right now in life. I want to talk about my pop-ups and recent experiences around that, talk about those goals, and then share with you all of the podcast takeaways that I've really been enjoying, because that is like the medium of like consumption in terms of you want to talk about shows, music, podcasts, books, movies, whatever. That is the current fave, all the best parts of some of the recent favorites, and then closing announcements. Cheers to life and pinstripes. I kicked off this year with another really exciting night out. For what it's worth, this is what I look like. Enjoying New York City with my group of friends. Shortly after that, we got together again to celebrate John's birthday. And the way it always goes is like getting food and then going back to one of our apartments to play board games late into the night. But tonight was a little bit different because we tried out Just Dance, and I don't think I've ever actually played that. And it was really fun watching everybody go off. A lot of people have dance experience.
So many perfects.
I couldn't understand how to do it. It was really difficult. The only one that I thought I was decent at was actually, we did the song Unstoppable by Sia, and the dance is like boxing themed, so a lot of the moves are something that I learned and picked up through martial arts. So I was like, okay.
Oh no! Oh no!
We also played Catchphrase. If you haven't heard of this, I don't know if it's a free app or not, but it's a very simple game that I recommend for groups. Catchphrase is basically like Taboo, but you don't even need a physical game. It operates on your phone screen, and it's just about basically like passing a hot potato before the timer runs out, and you partner with one person that's directly across from you, seated, so it has to be even numbers, and whoever the time runs out on, they get eliminated from the circle. So just picture Taboo, but you don't have to look out for not saying a certain list of taboo words. I got back into oil painting a lot more regularly, which I'm so happy about, and I've been taking commissions. If you are interested, feel free to email me below and you can find more information on that. And I thought, why not? While I had all of my supplies set up, I decided to make John, for his birthday, a oil painting of a photograph that I captured of him and his partner when we were all on vacation together. I wish that I could make the vlog of when we went to Norway for my birthday, but for like 3 months now, I've been looking out, but I cannot find the SD card or camera. So I might have been really silly and lost it, which I've never done before. It's just so unlike me. As January was settling in and the dust settled from the holiday rush, I started freaking out. I think I have all of these big goals, and when you're in like Q4, you're like, whatever. You always push it to the next thing, and you're like, I can figure this out in the new year. And it's always fun to talk a big talk, and it's exciting. I think research shows that when we talk about our goals, which is why we love doing those like declarations or resolutions, we experience a chemical change that makes you feel like you're accomplishing whatever it is that you are talking about. So one thing that I've actually tried to do less is like declare something I really want to do, because the issue is, although it gives you that initial hit of maybe adrenaline or dopamine and it's exciting, I feel like oftentimes will lead to more resistance to the actual execution part of the process. I don't really think that this is something that I struggled with, because I wasn't like declaring it to everybody, but I did for sure want to move around stuff in the studio, and that was last week's video. And I knew that it would be a good time to do it in January, because it's like the fucking coldest time of year where there's a lot less people on the streets, so I could even do the renovations during shop hours, because like some days only 2 or 3 people would have come in, and it was freezing cold. So January was supposed to be kind of like a hibernate and plan next steps month and slow month, but it was like actually like medium fast. And the burden of like what I have actually brought onto myself was just hitting me in a very physical way. And the way that I felt it settling in was through noticing how my sleep was, especially how I feel the moment I wake up. Before I even sometimes open my eyes, I notice that my pulse is higher than normal. And I'm just like, that's interesting. And then also, like, not to go into excruciating detail, but something's really wrong when you observe your bowel movements. So, yeah, maybe I do have IBS or something because it is stress induced. And that's what I was like, okay, everything is going well on paper, but I definitely am sensing something. And I had let myself process that. I didn't include this in the moving vlog just because I didn't want to, as an editor, it's just kind of annoying to have to like sew in like this type of like volatile ass narrative. And I just wanted the last vlog to be about look what I was up to and look how much progress we made in the shop. But of course, in my January notes, let's not leave out some of the behind the scenes. I feel like I just want to have a good cry, even though nothing's wrong. I'm just stressed out. That's it. It's okay. You know what? I remember doing some kind of somatic practice, somatic, where you use certain physical movements to process your emotions. And one of those things for processing is like pushing the wall. Let me try that. I feel like I learned this a year ago. Okay, it's been a while. I want to feel like I'm doing good enough and excelling all the time. What is this obsession of wanting to be successful and excellent? Is this motivation really serving me and others? If anything, I feel like it's not serving myself nor the world. It's not serving anyone. Maybe haters. Beginning of every month is always a little bit stressful because there's a whole unknown about how I'm gonna perform, and the beginning years of a business is always super clutch. So I know it's not for the faint of heart, and I don't want to buckle under the pressure. So I guess the least that I could do is give myself more grace. Oh, but anyway, sometimes when you have difficult emotions, it's not a signal that you should not do something. And if you're scared, many times my mom will encourage me and say, like, it just means you are on the right path. It just doesn't mean it's going to be effortless. And I'm glad that I let myself process those emotions and I just moved forward. And a really sweet moment, because, you know, the highs and lows kind of like balance out each other. It's yin yang. I showed my mom and grandma the updates as I was moving things around, as I put up like the Valentine's display. And it's just very sweet because my family really supports me from afar. And even though I don't speak to them every single day and I don't really get to do that, it does make me feel so intrinsically motivated to be like, yeah, see, like, oh, my grandma gets to see this and she hasn't even visited in person yet. Sometimes I can tell that with my stress and really high self-imposed expectations, I almost want to avoid like talking to my grandma and not wanting to show her because I just don't want it to fess up some kind of feelings of like, oh, but this is not yet perfect, this is not fully realized, I don't want you to see this yet. And it's about actually letting your loved ones in and giving them the opportunity to meet you where you're at and to realize that at the end of the day, they just want you to be healthy and okay, and that they want to experience the joy and the journey and the process. So now week 3, I went to do a pop-up. So one of my goals for 2025 is to not only grow this physical location here in Brooklyn, but also expand the business beyond this social media platform and how I have built marketing base like through that, but also do it the traditional way, the classic way, making social connections and networking with other business people. And that's what I did. So that's really cool about living in New York and such a treasured resource of like how many artists reside here. And I also thought it was like really cool seeing the PB merchandise in this space that is like completely custom built out, really expensive furniture, and it makes me daydream about the future, where PB can go, because right now we are in this flex office space and all of our furniture are like literally the most necessary possible. A lot of them are converted, a lot of them are secondhand and just very industrial and the best that we can do. And I'm like really proud of that for what it is, but it's also cool to be like picturing, wow, one day having like a custom built, really more like official formal shop. And who knows, maybe in 10 years I don't even want that anymore. But I really strive for quality when we design our goods, striving for quality and a sense of timelessness. I think that's like the most biggest compliment when somebody says that, that they get that vibe from the brand. And I think that really plays into sustainability without going into like the straight, super scientific notion that we have of sustainability and like all the greenwashing terms. I think really, if you want to make stuff in the world, put things out, think about why you're doing it and the end of life of this product. Speaking of that, in the 4th week, I went to visit Amanda Rachley's pop-ups. She had invited me to do a Friday preview. If you don't know Amanda Rachley, she is the founder of Shop ARL, a stationery company, and she really hones in on bullet journaling, all things like sketching, journals, and it only made sense for her to expand into her own shop. She had invited me to do a Friday night preview of her pop-up with Shopify, and she was also in Soho for a weekend. And that was really crazy to witness how far we've come, because Amanda was my first YouTube friend ever, and we were pen pals. And we were literally like, we had baby fat, and we were like, this is my morning routine. And she lived in Canada, so I remember thinking like, wow, this girl's life is so similar to mine. From the tiny bits of time that we have spent together, I really see the type of person that Amanda is, to have achieved everything. And I just feel like I can't wait to see what is to come. I hope that it's just the beginning. And again, I feel so thankful and grateful that she can serve as a role model for so many people who want to pursue entrepreneurship. I've actually been wanting to do like interview series soon. I don't know if I wanted to do that in like a video and podcast format, but one day it would be really cool to have someone like Amanda and a whole bunch of other creatives come and chat to explain their experiences. So more on that later. Speaking of other people that I've bumped into, a really fun cameo is actually Joe Ando. He stopped by my shop and I got to say hi to him, and he picked up the cutest little cactus mug and I wrapped it up for him as a gift. Hi, Maggie.
What's up, Maggie?
Just a big thank you, Joe, for coming in here and choosing our shop as your gift of choice. If you don't know him, very famous content creator, TikToker, who is also an amazing fashion designer. I got to film a little hello for my friend who's a really big fan of Joe. So yeah, I thought it was fun to talk to him. To conclude January happenings, I celebrated our channel's 12 years. And this is interesting, and I feel like I have to speak a little bit on my self-love journey in a way, because I think In the past, I have just let it go because my channel statistically has not grown very much in the last handful of years. So I just thought, well, it's not worth recognizing if you're not growing. And who cares if you've done this for 10 years or something like that? I think that's honestly why it was just an afterthought. And this year, I have really come around and thought about my dynamic with work and how I want it to be part of my identity. And one really important takeaway from that is that it is about putting in the work and the willingness to show up for the process that I feel like now defines my identity far more than the results that you yield, which is why I guess in the past I've like not wanted to, felt like it was not worth celebrating, because to me I thought, well, only this type of external validation grants that type of maybe like almost like ego driven satisfaction. And now I just thought, no, this is me commending myself for my dedication to doing something that I cared about and also had a lot of fun with. So that was really sweet. And I thought it was just so touching that like I just kind of said it as a fun little thing, like, oh, my child's turning 12. But my roommates, and especially Tam, was so like I felt so recognized for it in a way that I really didn't mean. Like, I first just wanted to do it because I thought it would give me an excuse to eat out. Maybe that was one reason, or maybe Tam was just really sweet. I think it's more of the second reason, because I have also expressed to Tam like a lot of gripes that I've had of like my YouTube journey and just like the experiences that I've endured with my own like inner self-critic and like battling that and all the high expectations. And I think like whatever reason it is, like I'm just so grateful that people in my life have made a point to really recognize this thing that I really like belittled for a long time for some reason. When they would like see me and they would like congratulate me and say, happy 12 years. Like it just like gave me the sense of love and appreciation in a way that made me feel like, if anything, I'm just so grateful for this relationship and your willingness to recognize me more than whatever achievement it was about itself. And oh my God, so it was so sweet because like the day of the 23rd, Tam came in to do a little bit of work because she runs her tattoo business here. She showed up with donuts and I felt like, wow, like half a tear was just like forming in my face. And I was like, oh, you didn't have to. But it definitely really made my day too. Okay, so I think it's just so sweet and such a gem that I have people like this in my life. But that doesn't even compare to what ended up happening last weekend with our Lunar New Year potluck. So that was just a get together. I thought it was just another one of our like group celebrations where we all cook and we eat and maybe play games, and it was going to be for Lunar New Year. Happy Year of the Snake, everyone. And Jay, little snake, she wanted to surprise me again because everyone was together and got me a cake with my photo on it from like my first YouTube video that showed my face. And it was because my first video didn't show my face because my dad was like really nervous about putting your face online, and understandably so, but I kind of just like did it behind his back eventually and just did it anyway. Jay was like really concerned that Tam found the screenshot. That was hilarious. You gotta know more about our roommate dynamic eventually. But Tam kept saying, Jay was like, I really don't think this is a good idea. Please, like, are you sure you want this photo? It's so ugly. Annabelle's gonna be so mad. It's so ugly. And I think I'm glad that like she trusted the process and just let Tam put this cringy ass photo of me, because like at the end of the day, my sense of humor, I really appreciated it and I loved it. So the way that they brought out the cake, I just thought in the moment, I'm gonna play it back for you, but I thought that it was just someone's birthday that I wasn't clued in on, because God knows I've just been so in my own tornado of work plans. So I thought maybe I missed a memo and maybe we're celebrating Lisa's birthday belated for some reason, and turns out her birthday was 4 months ago. But whatever. When Jay came out with the cake, I certainly did not think it was from me. I even saw the cake, and for a second I was like, oh, that kind of looks like me when I was 14, but that must be someone else, like whatever. And then like the moment she like pivoted, I was so shocked.
No, but this is we have similar things. Who's this? Let's sing though.
Happy 12th birthday. Woo!
Just in time.
Yay!
Just like you asked.
I've never been the surprisee of any type of group gathering like that, and it made me so happy. I guess it was like on my bucket list. Like I've always wanted to be surprised like that, but it meant the subtext is I've always wanted like a partner or friends that love me enough to want to do that for me. So, damn. So lastly, I'm going to calm down a little bit, slow down. My talking's been like crazy. This is a really long, dense video because just how much has happened, but I'm going to close out with talking about a couple of my latest podcast finds. I always talk about Mel Robbins, I love, but recently I've also really been enjoying Psychology of Our 20s. I've heard it here and there before, but for some reason there are just seasons of my life where I really, really like a specific podcaster and their voice and the way that they want to send out messaging, and I'm all about that self-help genre. So I have been listening a lot to Psychology of Your 20s. I will put some screenshots of like episodes that I really enjoyed personally, but I've been still going down the list. It's been around for a good amount of time, so there's so many episodes, but that's what I've been listening to. And I love that Gemma has launched Mantra only 2 weeks ago, and the idea of Mantra is that every Monday you listen to this podcast that is about some type of motivational quote or mantra that you repeat to yourself, and she will break down why it's important, how, like, there are a lot of research studies that ties into that mantra, and also relate to her personal experiences. And that actually leads me to a Mel Robbins podcast that I really hope that you can listen to. It's called How to Find Your Purpose and Design the Life You Want. It's something that I listen to when I'm like on my way to work, when I'm making my coffee, just to have a daily dose of motivation before you start your work. And Mel interviews apparently the #1 life coach in the world, just very wise women talking. And some of the amazing takeaways from that episode specifically is the notion that you move through the world and you take 2 best friends with you, your body and your suffering. So again, listen to this for their actual, like, real context, but I'm just going to like cliff notes it for you. It really made me think about suffering differently. There is a tactic called flipping the script, where like if you're saying something, you want to reframe it, and it helps your perspective change. Oh, give me a second. Okay. And essentially, that's what they were doing in this episode. So like, for example, they said the opposite of your worst case scenario, or if you have these looping fearful thoughts that causes suffering into you, think about that as the exact opposite of what you need to know. The more suffering gets your attention, the more you must pay attention to the opposite of those thoughts, because it will show you the next step towards your awakening. And that was really like, whoa, for me, because I feel like if I was really stressed out about the moving of my studio and what it would mean for me as like advancing in my business goals and like my event coordination goals, like all of that kind of stuff, I just kept thinking like, what if I mess up? What if I don't do this? What if I don't do that? And the exact opposite would be, what if I like get on my way and I actually find momentum and get the ball rolling, and I am like steady in my work, and like I will do that. Like that is the next step in facing that. Like hopes and fears are so, there's such a fine line between that, and that like you must you must have faith and walk towards what scares you with a deep knowing that what will happen. So don't shy away from the pursuit merely because of how uncomfortable it is when you think about the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is always possible, and thinking in that direction might manifest it to happen more, because what you focus on is what you pay attention to. And that's also mentioned in this episode. We don't see what we don't pay attention to. Many of us know that study about the video you watch with the kids dribbling the basketball and like a gorilla suit walks through and you literally don't see it because you were told and prompted to count the number of basketball bounces. And it makes me want to tell you, like, I know it's really hard to take the advice of like, when you walk into a room, think everyone in here loves me, because my social anxiety does not allow that. It's just like not how I function. But try to do that a little bit. Try to think like, oh, the world is a welcoming place, and hopefully you will catch a lot of like what is right before your eyes. You subjectively have like a nicer experience, even if like nothing else really changes. Lastly, closing announcements. The sun has begun to set, and I'm going to announce some of the things that's coming forward in February. Basically, for my New York peeps, anyone who is planning to visit New York City in the weekends of February 8th and 15th, I have some exciting announcements for you in Brooklyn. So a couple of my friends and work community colleagues, they are putting on a very awesome Valentine's themed exhibition called Someone You Love. And not only are you going to be able to see the local art and shop, you can get flash tattoos that some of them are only offered for that event. So definitely share that and let people know if you know someone who's visiting New York and this is up their alley. Make it a point to attend. It's both days, 8th and 9th. The following weekend, the 15th, I'm hosting our next pop-up because the shop is finally ready for more people because we have more space. And I am going to hopefully see if I can fit like 12 to 14 artists in here. And it's like the weekend of Valentine's. The 15th, obviously, Valentine's has passed, but you're still welcome to come and support local artists and perhaps shop and treat yourself with something that you love and attend some workshops that we're still figuring out the programming because the applications just closed and we're like sending out and figuring out like the roster. But we had so many applications that I think I'm going to try to organize an event very shortly soon. So if you were an artist that wanted to come but you couldn't, or you're not visiting New York but you want to, and you might be in the coming months, just know that I'm gonna try to make it a more regular part of our programming to have community events in the shop because granted, we have the space. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a good rest of your week. And cheers to February. I love you, and I will see you soon. Please comment or like or just do anything to boost and share this video, and it honestly really helps me and my work, and that would be a great way to support me if you feel called to do so. All right, take care of yourself, please, and goodbye.